Now Sweeney, Dwayne Sweeney! Sweeney's over!
Can you please hand it over to your captain, Dwayne Sweeney?
Welcome to Real Tales with Sweens. This episode is going to be me sharing my personal memories of the famous lager wood that is the Ranfurly Shield. From growing up as a kid and watching the dominant Mulu side of the 1990s to what it was like for me personally to challenge for it for the very first time. I'll also share my memories of winning it, losing it, the celebrations, the pressures of holding it, the joy it brings to the fans, and everything else along the way. As always, the show notes will be posted on Instagram at Real Tales with Sweens and the website realtaleswithsweens.com. Also on the website you'll find all the links to listen and subscribe to your favourite platform, and also there'll be some great insight on all the guests on their podcast episode pages. Hope you all enjoy the podcast. Yeah, so I thought I'd try something a little bit different and share a little bit, I suppose, of my personal experiences that I've had through my career and life and things like that, and it's something I've been thinking about doing. Yeah, sharing a little bit about myself, my journey, what I've sort of done through my rugby career, or some cool adventures and stuff I've had with fishing, and some of the people in that I've kind of met, interacted with, learnt from, etc. So yeah, I thought I'd give it a go. I was sitting having a Raglan Roast IPA from Good George. The lads were kind enough to give me a few bottles, so I was sitting down enjoying that, and I thought, might as well have a bit of a yarn. Yeah, so I thought this one I would share about the Ranfurly Shield. I guess what it is, my first memories of it from my childhood. Yeah, and then the opportunities I had to play for it, winning it, losing it, and everything to do with that. So I guess I'll start with what the Ranfurly Shield is. I suppose if you live in New Zealand, you'll be very aware of what it is. It's a very famous trophy that is played for in New Zealand rugby, probably the most famous trophy. Yeah, so it's a challenge trophy, and how it works is it's the holder only puts it up for grabs when they play at home. So all their home games minus playoffs, so semi-finals and finals don't count. It doesn't go up, but any round robin game or any game that they play at home at their home ground, the Ranfurly Shield is on the line. So it was first presented to the New Zealand Rugby Football Union in 1902 from the Governor of New Zealand. And in that season, Auckland had the best winning record, so they were presented with it. But in 1903, they actually never played any home games. They were on tour the whole time, so that's why the first time it was played for was in 1904, and it was originally designed to be a soccer trophy. So the little centerpiece that's in the middle of the shield was actually altered to got some goalposts on there, and it's still pretty sort of visible today that you can see that's been altered, but it adds a bit of character. And my first memory of it was in 1993, obviously growing up in the Waikato and being a big Mulu fan. In 1993, I was 8-9 years old at the time, so I don't have very vivid memories. But in 1993, Waikato ended Auckland's record reign, which was from 1985 to 1993. They defended the Shield 61 times. So they were very, very good for a long period of time, especially at home. But, they were a dominant force in New Zealand rugby through that era. And, I suppose Waikato through the 90s became a real, powerhouse of New Zealand rugby. There's some greats that played for the era, John Mitchell, Dwayne Monkley, Ian Foster, Matthew Cooper, big Matthew Cooper fan. Yeah, the list goes on, really. I think Todd Miller might have debuted that day, actually, in 1993 as a young sort of 18, 19-year-old, and might have even scored a try. But, and Todd Miller actually ended up being my first ever roommate when I played for Waikato in 2002. So it was pretty cool to be able to share a room with someone like that had achieved, so much through his career. But, I don't have real vivid memories of the game, but I just remember it being a really big deal. There's parades and all sorts. I remember going across to Hamilton for that. Yeah, and it was definitely the talk of the town, and it was, when someone can hold it for that long a period, spanning across 8 seasons, and defending it 61 times. It's pretty. It moves around a little bit more now, which is good. But yeah, it was pretty cool to, I guess, have a little bit of a memory of that time. But my first real vivid memory of the Ranfurly Shield was actually in 1997. So Waikato took it off Auckland again. So Auckland had it, and it was kind of it was Warren Gatland and Ian Foster, pretty similar group, to the, I guess, the team that took it in 93. But in 97, they hadn't really been playing as well. Those are my memories. And I remember I was playing Roller Mills at the time, which is an age group tournament that's played. It's kind of the first age group tournament where you can represent your province. And I was playing it's a weight graded tournament. I think it was under 53 kgs when I participated in it. And for the ages, I think under 13, yeah, so it's sort of intermediate age. And I remember I was playing for Waikato Rangers, so there was the country and the city team at the time, so Rangers and Rovers, and we were playing up in Whitianga of all places, so Thames Valley were hosting the tournament. And I remember one of the dads left our game slightly early to get to Auckland because he's like, I'm going to watch Waikato take the shield. And we knew that he was going prior to the game, and everyone was kind of joking because, sort of laughing at him, thinking it was a bit of a joke because Waikato hadn't actually been playing that well that year. But what ended up happening, and we all watched that game as a team, all the players, and I guess we were all aspiring to play for Waikato one day. We were young and keen and big fans of Waikato rugby, and yeah, they played outstanding and ended up winning the shield. And I remember my mate's dad coming back, and I think came back the next day from memory, and he had a little piece of Eden Park. He had actually got on the field and dug a bit of the ground up and a bit of the grass, and he brought that back with him, and he ended up going home and planting that in his lawn. So that was his sort of memory of, or I guess his little bit of memorabilia of that moment and of that game. But I remember that very vividly, and yeah, just remember thinking that, really getting a proper appreciation of how cool the Ranfurly Shield was and how much it meant to so many people when you managed to win the Shield. If you're ever in that region and you follow the sport of rugby, even if you don't, you're probably aware of, say Waikato win the Shield. Everyone tends to know that's happened around because everyone tends to talk about it, and becomes it brings a whole lot of excitement to the town and almost breathes life back into a union or into a rugby society, I guess, for lack of a better term. But definitely all the supporters really enjoy when their province has the Shield. And yeah, it was I remember it was just such a cool time. Just, I suppose you're so impressionable at that age. I think I was 12 or 13 at the time, and you're looking up to these guys that are like your heroes, and yeah, they're almost like superheroes to you, and yeah, to see them succeed like that and be on the edge of your seat watching the game, and yeah, you kind of almost it just sort of etches itself into your mindset, I guess, if you're really passionate about the sport. Yeah, and that was my sort of memories of that. And then I was lucky enough to go on and play for Waikato, and then I had my first attempt, well, I guess my first challenge at winning the Shield in 2005. So we played Canterbury at Jade Stadium. It's pretty sad that it's closed down. It was such a beautiful place to play, and it's amazing atmosphere, and awesome field and awesome stadium. I think it was Jade Stadium at that time. I'm not sure if it was still Lancaster Park, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Jade Stadium then. And yeah, I remember kind of similar to 97 Waikato team. We hadn't been performing very well at all. It was Warren Gatlin's first year back in charge of us, and yeah, we've been very up and down with our form. We're trying a new defensive system. We had a few teething issues with it. Yeah, we weren't performing very well at all. But I remember Warren did an awesome job of getting us into a great mindset for that game, and I guess for him, he was there in that team in '93, and then again in '97. It was, I don't know, that probably sort of hung over with him, and he knew personally kind of how it felt and how the Shield could, I guess, change your life, and it does. Like when you get the opportunity, even if it's an unsuccessful challenge, it's something you always remember if you ever get a chance to play for the Ranfurly Shield. And we weren't successful that night, but we all but won it. We were very, very close against the awesome Canterbury side, and we had a good team too. We had a lot of youth in it, like young Stephen Donald, Richard Kahui. We were all kind of in our first. Those boys were sort of their first, second year for Waikato. I've been in there for a couple of years, but hadn't played a lot of games. I might have had, played maybe eight or 9 games at the time. I rode the pine that night. I was on the bench, didn't actually get on. So yeah, sat on the bench for the whole 80 minutes. But yeah, Stephen Donald had a drop kick to win the game from about 30 metres out with bugger all time left, maybe just under a minute to play or around a minute to play, and hit the right hand upright. So yeah, things could have been very different that night if that kick had managed to sneak its way in like his World Cup one did. But yeah, I was very close, and I guess that was my first real taste of what the Ranfurly Shield could do to a team in terms of being able to basically throw form out the window because it doesn't matter, and form, reputation, anything like that, it does go out the window when it comes to the Ranfurly Shield. It's just, it literally is anyone. It's up for grabs. As soon as it goes on that sideline for that game, it's literally anybody's, and it doesn't matter who you're playing against. And I think we saw that when Thames Valley actually challenged Otago the start of last year in 2019. So Thames Valley's playing in the Heartland competition. They were coming off winning the competition, but they were, a lot of not even semi-professional players, guys that are full-time working and training a couple of nights a week, very much like a club rugby player, and they were playing against some guys that were Super Rugby, and for big parts of that game they were very competitive, and they might have even led for quite a decent patch of the game, or if they didn't lead, they were very, very close for a long period. So it does funny things, and pressure does funny things to people and to players as well. So yeah, there always is a lot of pressure when the Shield's on the line, especially if you are the holder, and that's something that I'll talk about a little bit further on also. Yeah, and I guess I'll go into the first time I was lucky enough to win the Shield, which was in 2007, so 2 years later. So we had a very quick turnaround from 2005 with our form. So yeah, like I said, Warren was our coach his first year in charge in 2005, and we didn't do too well. Like I said, we had a new defensive system. We changed things up. We had a lot of, new young players come into the environment. I was part of that group, and yeah, we were, finding our feet, new coach, and yeah, we turned it around pretty quick and ended up winning the Air New Zealand Cup, it was back then, in 2006. So that was the year that they changed the name. Yeah, and we led into 2007, I guess with a big reputation, being the top team in the country the year prior, and we started the season pretty well again in 2007. and we played North Harbour up at Albany, and yeah, it was a very different feeling from 2005. It just felt like, I guess we were so confident in the way that we were playing, and from that year prior, also we had a lot of confidence and self-belief in what we were doing as a group, and yeah, we were coached extremely well. Warren was a great coach, and again, just got us into a really good mindset leading into that game, with the confidence of also past performances. Now, where 2005 we probably had underperformed, where now we have been consistently performing, and then he managed to get us into that mindset of ready to play a Ranfurly Shield game, and we ended up winning the Shield off North Harbour, and it was a pretty magical night. Like, I remember going from the hotel to the ground just thinking that there's no way we could lose. Like, we were, it might sound cocky or arrogant, but I think it was just our mindset. Like, we were so in tune with what we were there to do and the way that we were going to play. We were very aware of our game plan and what we and our role, I guess, as individuals. Well, me personally, that's how I felt, and I guess it was kind of a collective when you see the way that the team performed, and then we ended up being, it was the highest ever winning margin by a challenger to take the Shield, and we had 12,000 people travel up on buses to Albany from the Waikato. So it was, again, showed how much it meant to a region, and just to the people, to the fans. And yeah, it was pretty amazing, because I remember back to 97 watching that game on TV and looking at the terraces in Eden Park, and it was just red, yellow and black. Like, there was so many fans that had made the trip up. I guess we're close neighbours to Auckland, so, and North Harbour's only just over the bridge, so it wasn't too far to go, and everyone was, dressed in red, yellow and black. The cowbells were going, the Mulu song was being sung, and there's quite a cool video of that post-game of all the crowd sticking around for the presentation and singing the Mulu song. So I'll chuck that in the show notes. That'll be on the website. So if you haven't seen that, you'll be able to jump on and have a look at it. But yeah, and then we actually, I suppose I'll talk about defending it and what that was like. So we were actually, we won with the biggest winning margin ever as a challenger, but then we were also the shortest ever reign, equal shortest ever reign, which was 6 days. So we won it on Saturday and then had to defend it on the following Friday against Canterbury. And yeah, we come up short. From memory, we lost by a couple of points. It was quite a close game, but we didn't play very well. Canterbury played well. They put us under a lot of pressure. They had a very good side, a lot of All Blacks. But yeah, we also had a very strong team as well at the time. But yeah, we didn't perform that well, and I don't know, probably still a little bit hungover from our celebrations the week before, which was actually spoken about, and Warren Gatland mentioned it and said, I think he asked a question in a team meeting, like, would we have done anything different? Because we definitely celebrated, like we won the Ranfurly Shield, which I think you always should, because there's no point saving it. Some people were saying, maybe we should save it for a week so we get the Canterbury game, but there's nothing like winning the Ranfurly Shield. Like, defending it doesn't feel anything like it does when you win it as a challenger. So, and that's something that I'll touch on a little bit more soon. But yeah, so we definitely celebrated it, and I remember he asked the question in the team meeting, and everyone was kind of like, and he said, well, it's not a trick question. We actually, you should celebrate it, and I wouldn't change anything. It was disappointing that we lost, and we were disappointed that we lost, but he's like, you guys won the Ranfurly Shield. Like, we won the Ranfurly Shield, and that's something you'll be able to tell your grandkids. And then he made the joke, and you can actually tell them that you held it for the shortest amount of time as well, but that's since been beaten, so I'm glad that tag's gone. Yeah, so, and then from there, wanted to talk about, I suppose, captaining a challenge. I was lucky enough to captain the Waikato squad last couple last 3 seasons. And in 2017, we had a challenge against Canterbury, and it was a bit difficult for me because I was captain, but I suffered quite a major injury in about round 4. I tore my adductor off my pelvis, and I was trying to rehab and kind of come back, and I think it was about round 7 or 8 we had a challenge. So I got myself back to a position where I could run. I was pretty effective at training, and we put me. I got put through my paces, and I was good enough to play. I wasn't obviously at full fitness, but I felt like I was good enough to play. And this build-up was a little bit, I guess, kind of similar to 2005. We had a very young squad, but we had had been up and down a little bit with form. We hadn't been getting the results, but we were close. We were playing good rugby, a game patchy, and we're going up against a very good Canterbury side that had been very dominant, and we really focused as a leadership group and as coaching staff and around the build up for this game and making sure that there was a real awareness of what the Ranfurly Shield was, and that was led within. We had a number of guys in the squad that had won the Shield prior, so I'd won it in 2007. We had Sam Christie, who had won it in 2012 when the boys took it off Taranaki. And then we had a group of the boys that were in the squad that took it off Hawke's Bay in 2015 and then had defended it for a big part of 2016 also. So, and actually lost it to Canterbury, yeah. And what we did was we got up and we shared our stories about our memories from winning the Shield and what it was like and how we felt through, I guess, the build-up and then into the game and then the post-game and the joys of winning it and sharing that with your family and friends, etc. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. It was cool to hear different people's perspectives of how they felt in the moment, because it is, life's all about perception, and everybody's different, and the way that people read situations is different. And yeah, it was really cool to hear, I guess, just other people's opinions on what it was like for them. And some things are so similar and some things are so different, but yeah, it was just cool, and I think it resonated well with the group. We were in an awesome mindset to go down there, but Canterbury were just too good for us. Yeah, that was a pretty cool preparation. Obviously didn't get the result, didn't win the Shield, but I think it was a great. I personally felt it was a great experience for me, and I also spoke about at that time. I think I'd played sort of mid-80s games for Waikato, and I was explaining to the players that I've only ever challenged for the Shield 3 times. So I think it's kind of when you first go in there, and I was pretty similar, you think that you'll get a shot sort of yearly, or if you don't get a shot every year, you'll get one every sort of second year. But yeah, you never know who's going to have it, how long they're going to have it, where you're going to play them. So yeah, they are pretty rare, and some of the best players in the world have never played in, best players in New Zealand, who are some of the best players in the world, have never ever had a Ranfurly Shield game or had a chance to challenge or defend it or anything. Yeah, it doesn't come along often, so you want to make sure that you make the most of that opportunity and you enjoy it, whether it be successful or not. You still want to, I guess, enjoy being in that moment, because yeah, once the moment's sort of gone, you want to be able to look back at it and know that you were aware of what was going on, if that makes sense. I always find it's very easy to not be aware and get a little bit narrow visioned, and yeah, then you kind of miss the special parts about it. And I found that what we did in 2017 was sharing with each other on our views and our thoughts of it. It created a real awareness for me, and I was I really enjoyed that week. I felt like I got to know my teammates a lot better, and yeah, it was very cool. And then, yeah, I was lucky enough to win it as a captain in 2018. So there's a bit of a story to this, because 2017 we ended up getting relegated from the Premiership to the Championship, and we lost 7 games. Our last 7 games, I'm pretty sure it was, and then our first 3 games of 2019. So we were actually the squad that had, well, over across the 2 years, Waikato's longest ever losing streak in history. So yeah, we'd lost 10 games on the trot, and we played Wellington on a Wednesday night. It was at home, and we ended that streak. And our whole goal for 2018 was about returning some pride and some mana back into the jersey. We kind of, yeah, I guess we kind of lost our way a little bit. We had a very young squad, but we had Johnny Gibbs come back and coach us, and a man with a lot of mana and a lot of pride in the Waikato jersey, and a lot of pride in the region, and a lot of respect in the region, and mana in the region from the people. So it was pretty cool to have a leader like that, and I was very grateful to be captain while Jono was the head coach. He taught me a lot around leadership and how to manage a team and that as well. So it was really cool year in my career. And we ended our losing streak against Wellington, and we were actually, Taranaki had a very strong side, and they were in the Premiership. So, and we were playing Hawke's Bay 4 days after. So it was when the Storm Week was still around, which they've got rid of now. So you play 3 games in 8 days. So we were playing Wednesday night, then we played Sunday afternoon against Taranaki, and then we were playing again on Thursday against Hawke's Bay. So Hawke's Bay were a championship team, so our whole goal was to get promotion at the end of the year, was to gain promotion back into the Premiership, which the only way you can do that is by winning the championship. So that was a target game for us. Like, we really wanted to make sure that we won against the championship teams that we played, and because you do play crossover games with the Premiership side, so it was a real target for us. And we had an awesome result against Wellington, and I remember going in for recovery the next day and walking into the coach's office, and Jono was there, and Roger Randall and Nathan White, the 3 coaches, and there was this team up on the whiteboard, and I thought the development team must have been having a game, because there was a few guys in there that had been playing club rugby. I knew who they were. They'd been training with us and playing club rugby, but weren't in the squad and weren't training with us at the time. And I asked the questions at the development side, and they said, "Oh, no, that's the team that's going to play the Naki." And I was like, "What? What are we thinking?" And then I wasn't on the list, so they were planning to give me a bit of a rest. I'd had another big injury prior to that season also, so I'd torn my hamstring off the bone, and I'd rehabbed and recovered. So they were mindful of not playing me too much and being a bit sort of, I guess, careful through that Storm period of 3 games in 8 days. But I felt really good, and we performed really well, and the team was confident, and we trained really hard. The team was in a good space, and we were fit. We weren't carrying really any niggles as a squad, which is credit to the trainers and the coaching staff and the way that they managed us through that preseason and into the early part of the season. And I said that I felt really good and was keen to play, and then that kind of sparked a few conversations. So John had talked to a few of the other senior players, and after my recovery, they called me back in, and there was a different team on the whiteboard, and it was all the team that's played against Wellington. All of us were back up there, and John said, "Oh, well, like, you only got to get it right once." I remember him saying that, and then I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Well, you get it right once, you win the Shield." And it was kind of turned into a little bit of a, I guess, on the side, sort of quiet theme between the two of us. And he mentioned it a couple of times in a few meetings, but he kind of spoke to me pretty heavily about it through the week. And we pulled out all these, normally with a short turnaround of 4 days, you're not going to go in and try a whole lot of different things. Like, you're just going to keep kind of doing what you're doing. But we decided that we were going to change everything up, and we made up a whole lot of random moves. And I don't know whether it kind of sparked us or made us a bit fresher, but yeah, the result ended up being, like pretty outstanding. But we just got into this, I guess, awesome state and mindset again. And Jono was coached in that same squad by Warren. He didn't play in 2007. He was injured from memory, and yeah, so he did a great job at getting the team into a mindset and loosely around that theory of you only got to get it right once. So we just went in with this, I guess, confidence just to back ourselves, and we'd finally broken the hoodoo of losing 10 straight. I don't think anyone really gave us a chance. We're heavy outside favourites at Tabby, maybe paying $7 or $8 or something, but we went down there and just literally couldn't put a foot wrong. We just got into this state of, I guess, like flow, for a better word. Like, things just worked really well. Everyone was just so in tune. I would say that everybody wearing the jersey that day had their best game that they'd ever had in a Waikato jersey ever, and it was pretty special. I think we were up 31-7 maybe at halftime, and we managed to. I don't know if we scored a point in the second half, but we managed to come away with the win. And a lot of the players that had played 80 minutes 4 days prior all played 80 minutes again that day. And we ended up lifting the shield, and I was pretty stoked. My mum and dad had travelled down to be there for it, and I don't think they would have come if we hadn't have beaten Wellington because I think they were getting kind of sick of flying around and travelling when the team wasn't performing. But I suppose we paid back all of our family and friends that and supporters that made the trip down there with the way that we performed that day, and it kind of just sparked us into this really good headspace for that season, and we ended up winning the championship later that year. And we just played really well with freedom. Like, I guess the way we led into that game, the coaches kind of just let us play freely. We got really creative with moves. The boys adapted to that well, and we changed things up. We kept things fresh, and it was a great team environment to be a part of. And back to the celebrating side of it. So like I said, we were playing Hawke's Bay in 4 days' time. So generally, you're not gonna get on the Bears sort of with a 4 day turnaround. But I remember we were on the bus, and John had come down the back seat, and he said, "Oh, look, we've got to celebrate this, but we've probably got to be a bit mindful of how we do it." And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." So we ended up stopping, and I don't know how many boxes of beer ended up getting loaded onto the bus, but there was a fair few. And we had an awesome time driving back up from New Plymouth, and we got back, and Quintupaia was his old man Toops and Kelly, his mum, were very grateful, and they opened up their shed. They got a cool little bar, which actually used to be Johnny Gibbs's house many years ago. But now the Tupaia family live there, so it's got good, I guess, good Waikato heritage in it, and continuing now. And Quinn's doing some amazing things with his rugby. But it was pretty cool. It was we went back there and had an awesome night. Boys had let their hair down, had a great time, and it was done like in a really respectful manner too. And especially, I was really proud of the way that the guys treated the environment. They treated Quinn's family home, and it was cool. We had a good time. We celebrated it, and we had to defend it 4 days later. And I remember I stayed the night at Quinn's because I live out of town, out of Hamilton. So, and I actually slept on a mattress on Quinn's floor, and he had a Bob the Builder blanket that was his from when he was a young fellow. It was either his or one of his brothers. But I've got a pretty cool photo lying down with the Ranfurly shield and my Bob the Builder blanket. So I'll chuck that in the show notes as well, so you can have a look at that. But it was cool. It was a great night. I remember we didn't get much sleep, and I had to do a radio interview in the morning, and everything was kind of tailored around Brad Weber coming back to Waikato to take the shield off us. And yeah, we turned around 4 days later and actually played bloody well again as a team. And Hawke's Bay put us under a lot of pressure. They're a good side. They're really good set piece, and Brad was in outstanding form at halfback. So he scored an absolute ripper of a first try. And but then we defended it and went on to defend it again against Southland. And yeah, the shield's funny because when you have it, like I said, there's nothing like winning it as a challenger. When you win it, when you're defending it, it's more like a sigh of relief, rather than this like euphoric moment when you win it as a challenger. When you win it as a challenger, it's literally life changing. It's like, yeah, I don't know. Like I've won it twice, and both times it felt just as good as the other, if not better. So, but yeah, defending it was didn't get to defend it the first time because we lost it straight away, and that was heartbreaking. But defending it, yeah, you're still bloody stoked and you're wrapped when that final whistle goes. But it is kind of a sense of relief, and I guess that's kind of get around the pressure that you face day to day when you do have it. Because when you do have it, you're, everywhere you go, people are like, oh, don't lose the shield. Oh, who you got this week? Oh, don't lose to them. And, you'll be pumping petrol or at the supermarket or whatever it is. And it is quite, you become almost, quite sort of anxious about it. And because it does mean so much, like I said, it means so much to the region. I remember what it meant to me when I was a fan of the team and they had the shield. And I think sometimes as a player, it can be easy to forget that from a fan's point of view and how much it does mean to people, because you do kind of get, I guess, stuck and isolated in your bubble. But yeah, it was very emotionally draining having it, but also just so much joy comes with it. So I guess that's why it's emotionally draining, because you're so happy that you've got it, and it's so cool sharing it with everybody and family and friends, and having it at home. I was lucky enough to have it at home a couple of times, and the kids loved it. They didn't even know what it was, but they instantly kind of, I guess, fell in love with it. My two boys, and they were only, I think, 4 and 3 at the time, and yeah, or maybe 5 and 3, yeah. But they were just, yeah, they were so, I guess it kind of, they get it, that feeling of how you feel towards something, and they kind of saw how much joy it brought me and my teammates, so naturally they kind of felt that they should feel that way. And I remember my youngest boy Mason crying before I left for one game, because I took the shield in with me, and he was like, oh Dad, please don't let those other guys get it, and he was crying before I even left the house. And we managed to defend it that day, so he was happy after that one, but he wasn't too happy after we lost it to Otago. And yeah, I guess I'll talk about that now, and being a captain that does have to hand it over, and that's a hard thing, very hard thing to do. But I guess you got to remember, I was lucky enough to be the captain that got to lift it when we won it, and you got to remember, as much as you're hurting, you've got to remember how you felt in that moment when you won it. And you've got to pay respect to the opposition. They were better on the day. They're the ones that get to lift it, to get to take it home. So yeah, it was a hard pill to swallow, to hand it over, but I tried to do it with as much, I guess, sort of dignity and pride as I could. Made sure I shook his hand, looked Mike Collins in the eye, and handed it over. And I was pretty quick to turn away though, because didn't want to see him raise it up. But yeah, it was Yeah, it was hard. It was very hard to lose it. We definitely didn't perform well enough to keep it. We had our chances, and the team. Yeah, the thing that disappointed me the most is we prepared really well for that game, and the coaches did a great job at showing us the way that Otago were going to play, and their first two tries were like picture perfect of what we practiced during the week, but we missed both of the cues, and it's just funny what pressure does to people. And that's all I put it down to, is because we were prepared well enough. We just didn't have, I guess, in that moment when the pressure came on, we weren't thinking clearly, and we missed a couple of things that we should have easily seen, and that was the hard bit for me. But that we got to that position because Otago put us under pressure. The Shield put us under pressure. We were just under pressure, and we didn't handle it, and they handled it better. They had pressure. Well, I guess you don't really have pressure as a challenger, but you do have pressure on yourself because you want to win it so bad, because you know how much it could mean, or how exciting it's going to be, and if you've won it before, you know what that feeling is going to be like. So you do naturally put a bit of pressure on yourself, but externally there generally isn't a lot of external pressure. It's more on the home team that's defending it. But yeah, as a player, it's always hard when you lose and you don't perform to your best. And there is always different scenarios for that. Sometimes you just don't play well, but sometimes you get put under so much pressure, or the moment gets to you and you can't perform well. So it was that was a hard pill to swallow, to hand it over, but it was it was an awesome time in my career, having the Shield and being lucky enough to have a few challenges at it. We ended up getting a challenge again last year in 2019 against Otago down there, and yeah, they again played really, really well. And yeah, we couldn't manage to wrestle off them. They definitely took their opportunities that day, and it was but that was cool again. The build up for that, and Shield games are special. They're life changing, and either way that is, like, I think about all those the games that I've mentioned there from 2005, 2007. 2017 and 2018, 2019, those are all, very vivid memories in my mind. I've, played lots of games over my career, and those ones are definitely, in terms of being able to remember the week, the build up, how I felt in those moments. It's quite easy to remember that, because the Ranfurly Shield was, it's always been super special to me. I guess born from what the Waikato team did in 1993, and then again in 1997, and I was lucky enough to be a fan of that team, a fan of Waikato through an outstanding era through the 90s, and it kind of ingrained into me that that's what a Waikato man is, and that's the way the Waikato team should play. So I guess it has inspired me to want to play for that team, and want to work really hard to have that opportunity and to get that chance. And I was lucky enough to play for Waikato, and yeah, real fortunate to win the Ranfurly Shield wearing the colours. So and also had the disappointment of handing it over also, but that's all part of it, and it's it's a very special trophy, and long may it continue. I think rugby will have to end for that trophy to not be around, and even then I think there'll be a few people that'll still try and find a way for it to still be in existence. Yeah, so that was I guess my little chat about the Ranfurly Shield, and I hope you enjoyed it. Hope it gave you a little bit of insight to what it's like. I guess from the playing side, from the professional side, if you haven't played, or if you have played and you have won the Shield, hopefully it brings back some good memories of your times that you had challenging for it and playing for it. But yeah, no, it was I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed sharing a little bit more about my journey, and it's something that I'll want to continue. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on it. If you any topics you sort of want me to cover, just flick them through either on Instagram or send me an email through the website. But yeah, I think I'll do it again. I'll talk about some hunting and fishing adventures, and some of the difficult times I've had as well from my career, and missing out on teams, or not performing well on certain big occasions. My Super Rugby debut sticks out for me of not performing the way that I wanted to, so maybe I can talk about my learnings that I have from that. But yeah, let me know if it's something you want to hear more of, and yeah, thanks for listening. Cheers.